or not the statistics captures the level of engagement of people in communities. And as was noted, that this is about formal volunteering. It does not capture informal volunteering and direct help in communities. And so an argument could be made that in a neighborhood or a community or a society where there are strong social ties, where there are natural support networks, there is less need for formal volunteering. And therefore, it is not a sign of a deprived society when a volunteer rate is lower, but in fact, it's something very positive, that you do need both. And so one of the things we need to caution ourselves is that there may be something very positive happening in terms of strengthening of ties, strengthening of neighborhoods, and the informal direct help and engagement that is taking place is something very positive. We need to know more about that because that gives us the whole picture. So rather than feel, oh my goodness, volunteering is going down, what's going on, are people less caring and less generous, I think that we need to look at those things together. In terms of risks, I think that Patrick mentioned the fact that older age groups and many, the trend towards board and committee work, that there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of one-to-one ongoing commitments. So mentoring, visiting, tutoring, doing the kind of work that does involve relationships and longer-term commitments. And in our own research at Volunteer Canada, we did find that many Canadians are looking for shorter-term assignments, whereas many organizations still require longer-term commitments. So rather than say to organizations, redesign all your programs so that they're all short-term, not always possible, I think we need to do some work together as a sector to really promote the benefits and the satisfaction that comes with seeing the difference you make in someone's life through that one-to-one or ongoing commitment. And I think that we shouldn't simply say that's the trend and let's accept that, but really think about it, because at the same time, people are saying they want more meaning in their lives. The other thing I mentioned is in terms of risk, I think there's the positive aspect of the youth high rate, the way we speak about it. There's a risk that we, first of all, we have to make sure that there are positive experiences, because if youth have positive experience volunteering, they will continue, that we speak about it and recognize it as something positive and not something that is, as I said, categorized as something that is mandatory. And another risk in terms of looking at older volunteers and the kinds of things that volunteers are doing, we need to think about those transitions from one place in your life to the other. So if we have that concern about the 35 to 44-year-olds who are now showing a lower volunteer rate, we need to make sure that when they're in a position where they have more time and pre-retirement or retirement, that we do a good job helping people make the transition from when they were in a position where there were multiple demands to perhaps in a position where there are fewer demands. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities there. So one of the things that strikes me when I saw the statistics, and as I said, the initial feeling like, oh my goodness, are things at risk? Is volunteering at risk? I think that we are getting some signals, not so much that Canadians are not caring, but that there are things that we need to do differently, that this information provides us all with the clarity that organizations need to develop strategies. So whether it's youth engagement, retirement, planning, transition from one age to the other, and so on. I think there's some great opportunities here that we've seen address some of these things. One is employer-supported volunteering. That's an excellent way for people who are in the middle age and working to be able to volunteer through the workplace during their work time and therefore not add additional time demands. I think that I mentioned the retirement planning. Another thing some of you have seen me talk about is condo volunteering, that older age groups who live in condos are becoming much more involved in their condo associations and maybe less involved in some of the community-wide initiatives and organizations. That's something that we need to know more about. It's not necessarily a bad thing. A condo association may be like a mini neighborhood, and that's, again, a form of engagement, but we need to understand what the impact is there and just think about the broader context. One of the things that Volunteer Canada has done a lot of thinking about is the word volunteering. So when someone is called up and asked if they volunteered over the last year, do all the things that they do and that come to mind fall into that category. And what I would say is that we need to make the tent broader. We need to promote a broader understanding of volunteering so that when people are doing things that are about volunteering, that they understand it and they answer yes when they're asked. Even though the survey does a great job of explaining it, I still think that we as a sector need to think about engagement in broader terms and really promote a broader understanding of volunteering. So those are my initial thoughts. I'm sure you're all having a number of things bubbling along, but I'll turn it over to Kathy Barr from Imagine Canada